What's up, team? We're back. It's Wednesday, hump day. Lightest sports day of the week. I'm actually enjoying that. I think Wednesdays are going to be our time to just dive into something that I've been meaning to get to but couldn't because we're doing too many recaps and talk about what happened the night before. Not this week, but sometimes I want to go in the Wayback Machine. Wayback Wednesday. That sounds pretty good. And try to navigate an old story of some kind in some kind of sports world that relates to me or is interesting. Today we have some other stuff to talk about. World Series is over. Braves win. The bad guys are dead. Hooray. The Wicked Witch is dead. That's great. We should actually start on a higher note. World Series deserves first bill. I get it. Second bill, Mike White's jersey from the Halloween win is going to the Hall of Fame. Going to the Hall of Fame. He is literally, Mike White, New York Jets quarterback, literally a Hall of Fame quarterback. It feels good. 37 completions, most completions ever by a quarterback in their first start. He gets enshrined in Canton for that reason. Maybe it'll get past one day. By that time, he will already have Super Bowls and MVPs and will be in there himself. Hilarious. Amazing. What a week. What a week. Okay, we started yesterday with the Henry Ruggs situation, the car crash, and I want to backtrack some of the things I said about it. Not that I don't stand by them, but the first thing I said yesterday was, let's not judge before we know the whole story, because when the tweet first came out, we thought it was just an accident. Everyone was praying that he was okay. Then more details come out. It turns out someone tragically died. He was in the wrong. Everything flips and turns on him. So all I was saying was, let's just wait till we know the whole thing. Yesterday on stream, someone in chat brought up the Dante Stallworth situation. In that one, Dante Stallworth called the cops immediately. He was impaired and did go to jail. But it was known that that person who he hit jumped out into the crosswalk. Dante wasn't necessarily in the wrong, although it was a DUI. So he did about, I don't know how long in jail, but less than a year, and then came back, played 3 more years in the NFL. Not super productive, but it's a little bit of a different situation because now we know some of the details of the Ruggs situation, and they're not good. And I don't want to support this guy in any way, and I don't think he deserves to be supported. If he's having struggles, tell somebody. That's fine. But he was going 156 miles per hour. 156 miles per hour. He was going 127 miles per hour when the airbags deployed. There was a loaded gun found in the car. He was also twice the legal limit of blood alcohol content. I have so many things to say. First of all, it doesn't matter if you're a football player or not. Take an Uber. What's so hard? Apparently, there's reports that say he was at Topgolf for 6 hours. Okay, so he's drinking heavily. I mean, Topgolf closes at like midnight, and this was at like 3:30 a.m., I think. So he obviously did some partying afterwards, but there's no excuse here. I'm pretty sure the NFL offers a ride service for their players for free. Now, I guess if I'm trying hard to play devil's advocate, players might not want their team to know where they are at 3:30 in the morning when maybe they shouldn't be where they are. So they're trying to stay anonymous. But take the Uber. How much does it cost you? I take Ubers when I go out. I don't have nearly the money that NFL players do. I don't know what the problem is. You can get a driver. You can afford a driver at all times. You just signed a rookie contract. I know he makes like $16 million over the first 4 years. I mean, it's not Patrick Mahomes money, but he would have been fine. Now, apparently, 2 years is the minimum, up to 20 years in prison. I'm no lawyer, but that's what I hear. And this sounds like it's going to end his career. I never put it past the NFL. I mean, the Cowboys and Browns could have this guy on their roster in 2 years. I wouldn't be that shocked. He's young and he's fast, and you can't teach 4.2 speed. But this is ugly, and I just felt bad for even trying to... I stand by trying to support it until you know the whole story. But I was obviously wrong, and now that the whole story is known, or it seems like it is, maybe there'll be more information, I don't know. But bad. Just don't, I mean, how hard is it not to drive 156 miles an hour? I've never done it, so, 32 years experience, pretty good. And the loaded gun, what are you doing? Ugh. It baffles me what these people do. These guys, the same thing happened with the Jets guy, Sheldon Richardson, I think. He was going like way too fast with a kid in the car and a gun. It's just crazy. The NFL is full of criminals. And I hope Goodell slams Ruggs for this openly. And the Raiders cut him immediately, which is awesome. Good for them. Separating themselves from all the ugliness that has happened to them lately between Gruden and Ruggs. It's just, it stinks. I don't want to do too much time on this. It's a bummer, but I just kind of wanted to walk back what we said yesterday. If you watched on Twitch or on YouTube, and if you're watching on one, go watch on the other and follow and subscribe and all that kind of jazz. Let's dive into the stories of the day here. That was one of them, but there are more. There are more. Look at that. Look how happy Jock is. First of all, go Braves. I said it yesterday. That was free money at positive odds. There's no reason. I mean, Max Fried was getting the better odds as the better pitcher with better rest, and the Braves are just better. I just don't. Yeah. It just seems like that was a wrong line, and they paid for it immediately. Braves jumped on them early, hammered them the whole night, shutout. F-bombs, wine, and a lot of love. How the Braves rose from their darkest moment. Yeah, Acuna gets hurt. You don't think they're going to be good. I have a lot of stats to read, so I'll go through them in a second. We'll get back to this. I want to get some of the stories off the top. Odell Beckham, what's happening here? He wanted a trade out of Cleveland, apparently. The trade deadline was yesterday. And he doesn't get traded, so now he just isn't reporting. And the coach says that he's basically just not with you. Quote unquote, Stefanski said, I would just tell you today he's excused and we'll see where this goes. He's owed no guaranteed money next year. People are talking about him getting waived or released and going to a contender, and I just can't. It seems like the prevailing take that this might happen. In fact, by the time you're watching this, who knows? Maybe it does happen, and I'm wrong. But I don't understand why this would ever be the case. If you're the Browns, what reason do you really have to let him go? You can let him sit at home, but just let him rot, because you're paying him anyway. And even if you're not paying him, the money that you're saving for half a season, to me, is not worth giving him to a contender. What if he goes to the Ravens? In your division, they need receivers. They're a contending team. There's a million teams he could go to that would take him happily. And if I'm the Browns, I'm just like, no. He might have played his final game in a Browns uniform, but you can't trade him, so you're not getting anything for him. And in that case, the only thing you could possibly be getting if he clears waivers and all the money works out, and I don't know the cap details and all that kind of stuff, but at best, you're just giving him to another team and saving a couple $1 million that you were planning on paying anyway. And you can't go get another player with that money. It's too late. No one's available. You can't make a trade. So you're not improving your team. You're making your team worse. There is the off chance that he comes back. Who knows? Don't even count on that. Let's just say he's out for the year, as far as the Browns are concerned. Just let him rot at home. Don't go help somebody else for free. I don't get this. I don't get this. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they will do what I said. Maybe they'll get rid of him because they don't want the headache, but it's not much of a headache if he's not with the team. I mean, Houston's doing okay with Deshaun Watson away from the team. They're paying him. It's a different situation because he's under contract and can be traded, but it's a weird story when I read it. Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID. This is a weird one. We thought he was vaccinated. It turns out he wasn't. He was he said he was immunized or something. Yeah. Reigning MVP said this past August that he was immunized when asked about his vaccination status. Quote unquote, there's a lot of... This beat is hitting, huh? How about that? There's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and not made statements. Owners who have made statements, Rogers said at the time. There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys. There are guys that have been vaccinated that have contracted COVID. It's an interesting issue that I think we're going to see played out the entire season. It's all just weird. He didn't... You want to say he didn't lie? Okay. He said he was immunized, whatever that means. No one's immunized, even if you have the vaccine. First of all, get the vaccine. I mean, what are you doing? Even if it's so far against your beliefs, then you have to work it out with the team, I guess. But that's nonsense to me, first of all. Second of all is, you're putting a Super Bowl at risk here, and maybe that doesn't mean more than your personal decisions. I get that. The Kyrie Irving situation, I get all of it. But it's weird to keep it so secretive. Aaron Rodgers just seems to hate the media and doesn't want to deal with them. So he's just like, yeah, we're good. And then you're not. I don't know what to make of this. Who knows how long he'll be out? Could be just this week. Could be 2 weeks. Could be longer. Some guys have come back not looking as good after COVID. Adams is still out. I haven't heard anything about him. Is he coming back? Jordan Love's going to play now. Does that start a little rumor mill? Rodgers was pretty much guaranteed to leave next year anyway. And now you're going to see what Love can do, and it just becomes this ugly thing. But the trade deadline is passed. They can't do anything about that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Also, funny enough, I've referred to it a couple times on stream. I just made a blockbuster fantasy football trade, which rocked my league and caused much debate. And I ended up getting Devontae Adams to pair with Aaron Rodgers, who I already had. And I gave up Henry Ruggs and Michael Thomas. And now all those players are pretty much gone. So, weird. Just weird. I don't know if that counts as a mushing, but just know that weird stuff happens. We talked about Thomas briefly just now. He's out for the season. This is a weird one, small setback we have to address. He's now missed pretty much 2 years. They don't have a quarterback. I think this isn't anything he can control, Peyton said, but he didn't seem to want to play for this team either. And I'm not saying he's not hurt at all. I don't know. But it's fishy. It's a hell of a coincidence. He underwent surgery in June after not telling the team. He's worked diligently day and night rehab to get on the field. Everyone believes him. Good. I like Michael Thomas. He's only 28. He dominated in 2019, 149 catches. But the Saints are good. Now they don't have any good receivers. They didn't make a trade at the deadline. They probably should have. They tried to work out a deal for Beckham. It didn't work out. Maybe they were given how much Beckham is owed the rest of the year. So, maybe this is a situation where the Browns end up releasing him and he makes his way to New Orleans or somewhere else anyway, but we just talked about that. I just don't understand. Like, if the Browns could have gotten something and turned it down, then why would they accept nothing? But yeah, this is a tough one for the Saints. No quarterback, no Michael Thomas. You have Alvin Kamara, and you pray. I mean, maybe Phillip Rivers comes back. We talked about that yesterday. I don't know. Let's go back to World Series. I don't want to waste too much time and bury the lead. Let's look at the game first, and then I have a bunch of stats that I want to read through that I thought were interesting. Max Fried is a star. He is a star. This is funny how different this could have gone. He could have won the MVP if some of those singles in the other game. He gave up like 6 hits, like 5 of which were singles, maybe a double. Nothing huge. He walked 1 and struck out 6, so he has a 12-to-1 K to walk ratio in 2 games. If he somehow spins, if he only gives up 2 runs in that game instead and they win, he's probably the MVP. That's how good he was today. Only went 74 pitches because their bullpen was fine and ready and they were trying to win. So it was all hands on deck. I saw nothing from Houston. They got dominated all day. The interesting part of this game was in the first inning, Fried gives up. Let's see if we can watch the video. Fried gives up the first 2 base runners. It's first and second, I believe. And then this happens.
Jan Brantley, Altuve will get to second.
And he gets his ankle stepped on hard. I'll turn down the volume because you don't necessarily need to hear it. And he's walking gingerly, and it just looks really bad. On the replay, it looks terrible. I hope they show it here. He absolutely got stomped on. It's rough. And there's a couple of weird things about this play. Freeman makes the play. Fried should have been there faster, but now he's busting butt to get there. He misses the bag, first of all. Gets completely spiked. Look at this. He misses... Right? I'm going to try to... Here. Maybe he hits the bag? I don't think so. It doesn't really look like he does. Hard to tell. Look how bad he got crunched. That could break your ankle. That's rough. So at this moment, it's so early. This makes it first and second with no outs in the first inning, and you're starting to go, oh my God, if Fried is out of the game, Astros are threatening already. This is not what we need. They don't review it. Brantley also never touches the bag. And we get a nice up-close shot of it here. No one touches. Nobody touches. And they never reviewed. All the things we review, we take 20 minutes at a time. And we don't review this. So at this point, we're here. And then Fried is looking limpy, and we don't know if he's staying in. He gets a couple warm-up pitches to throw. He says he's going to stay in. Everyone's like, okay. And in my head, the first thing I thought of was, oh, this is going to be Curt Schilling Bloody Sock version 2. That's what this might be. We might actually see him be injured, have a legit blood stain from getting spiked on, and then throw a gem maybe. And we didn't get the blood. And I didn't see many people make that bloody sock reference, but I couldn't help but think of it. And then he immediately gets Correa to strike out. He gets a grounder. And then he gets another strikeout on 3 pitches. And he was hyped up and amped. And from that moment, I'm like, this game's over. It just looked... There wasn't any scoring until later when Soler homers in the 3rd. But Fried was so locked in after that. And he looked so confident and not injured. And it was just awesome to see. Soler ends up winning the MVP with the homer. He had a couple homers in this series. 3, I think. Freeman delivers. And like I said, no one does anything on Houston. They ended up with 6 hits. I think they only had 4 against Fried. They did, and they were all loopy nothing. They were weak contact. The same way I said that they were weak contact the first time Fried pitched. It was the same thing. It played out. It feels good to be right. It feels good for Houston to lose. Their bullpen dominates. Astros tried everybody. Nothing worked. Christian Javier got wrecked in this series. He's a good pitcher, but he got wrecked. And the Braves win the World Series. It's crazy. It's really crazy. 88-73, they win the World Series. This feels like a hockey season where it's just like whoever gets hot, that's who's going to get it. So yeah, I mean, we've done a lot on this World Series. We talked a lot about it over the 2 weeks that it's been going on pretty much. But I'm glad this turned out this way. And I have a bunch of stats I want to read. Let me pull these up over here. One thing, John Smoltz announces these, and it seems like he hates baseball. So that's weird. I also feel that way about the Mets have the best announcing team in the business, and I'm a Yankee fan, but the Mets have the best announcing team in the business. And Keith Hernandez sometimes feels like he hates baseball also, but he makes it funny. He's not necessarily doing a bit. He definitely believes it, But this Smoltz really just rags on the sport a lot. He knows a ton. It's interesting to get the pitching analytics. And this is a Braves fan, a Braves legend, announcing for the Braves in the World Series, and he just complains a lot about modern baseball. And so do I get it. But if you're trying to appeal to a younger generation and you're the MLB, and you want new fans, and it's all you're focused on, it's the reason you're making all these rule changes, it's the reason you want a pitch clock, you got to speed up the game, kids can't wait 4 hours, it's too slow, they don't care. Maybe get an announcer that can buy into all that instead of criticizing it constantly when you're watching the broadcast. It's distracting and it's not funny. And if it's funny and you're roasting people in the sport and the rules, then I'm cool with that because it's entertaining. Smoltz needs to either lean into that or lean into the analytics and leave all the saltiness behind. It's so annoying. He's good for the old generation who probably also hates the new rules. But what does that mean? That's not who they want to appeal to. All the MLB keeps saying is they want to rope in the younger generation. It just seems like an odd thing. So I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but weird vibe. The average drought of the last 7 champions is 44 years. 44 years. I know there's a wiki list for this. There is. 44 years over the last 7. The Braves, the Dodgers, the Nationals hadn't won. The Red Sox was not as long. That's the only one, and if you go back further, they had the biggest drought of all of them, which is kind of funny. The Astros hadn't won. The Cubs was obviously like 100 and something years, so, you know, that bumps the number up. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Long droughts being put to an end, which is good. Kind of proves that in the long run, everything is becoming more and more equal regardless of the market. So I enjoy that. Another interesting one, Kendall Graveman, pitcher for the Braves. Did he pitch in this series? I mean, he obviously did, but I don't really remember him doing much. Pitcher for the Astros. I'm sorry, I said Braves. He's not on the Braves. Postseason. Yeah, he played 3 games in the World Series. He pitched 3 times. And he was good. He ended up hitting at one point. I guess they needed to keep him in for an extra inning or something. And he could be the last pitcher to ever bat in Major League Baseball. They're going to adopt the universal DH, it seems. This is the last opportunity, so it's just an interesting tidbit. Kendall Graveman. Who knows? Maybe there's a few Madison Bumgarners out there that are going to pinch hit. I don't know. Or Ohtani, I guess, counts. That's a tricky one. Point is, could be some changes coming. I feel for Ronald Acuna. A lot of people were talking about that. Got injured, didn't get to be a part of this. And he's by far their best player. Mike Soroka, too. No one mentioning him. He was probably their best pitcher coming into the year. He got injured and doesn't get to be a part of this either. It means 2 things. One, the Braves could have been even better and are going to be even better next season. And 2, it puts an interesting asterisk on his career because we're talking about him being one of the best young players in the league. And if you extrapolate it out, they paid him a big contract. He's got insane stats. When he's going to the Hall of Fame, are we going to look back and say that he won a World Series? He gets a ring. Are people going to remember the context 20 years from now? I don't know. Someone might be doing a podcast like this and look at the Wikipedia page and it says World Series champion and they just, oh yeah, the Braves won. And you forget. Or not. It's just an interesting take. I brought up Terrence Gore in I think my first stream ever because the Braves pulled him into the starting the roster, and I figured they were going to use him. I thought maybe he could run all over the place and do something. He didn't really do much, but he does win his second consecutive World Series ring. Terrence Gore. He was on the Dodgers roster at some point last year, didn't do much, but gets a ring for it. It's also his third World Series ring. Fascinating. He has 2 World Series championships since his last plate appearance. Where else can you say that? Baseball, baby. Baseball. Fascinating. Jock Peterson also wins for the second straight year. He was on the Dodgers last year. He actually played, so good for him. I'm not sure how someone wouldn't like Jock Peterson. He's the best. He's so cool. He's just energetic. Swing for the fences. Party hard when you win. The shot of him with the cigar. Just all cool. I like Jock. I don't know why everyone keeps getting rid of him. So he doesn't hit for average. Who cares? And he didn't do well in this series. That doesn't mean anything. He seems like a good guy to have on your roster. I mean, even if he's a pinch hitter. And he's the guy who's filling in for Acuna, don't forget. In the starting lineup, anyway. And a lot of minor league stats for him, even though he's been in the majors for this long. What? Why? Why? Yeah. 18 homers this year. 732 OPS. I mean, this is what he's asked to do. Swing for the fence. He's not an all-star, but he can hit bombs. He hit 36 homers in 2019 for the Dodgers. What a good fill-in for them. And that's the story of this team. They get the perfect fill-ins everywhere. They went and got Soler at the deadline for nothing. And he's the World Series MVP. For one right-handed pitching prospect, Casey Kalich. That's it. That's it. This guy, didn't he hit like 50 homers last year? What are the Royals doing? This is the same thing about getting rid of Beckham. I'm like, why are you doing this? At least for them, they're not going to pay him and they get a prospect out of it. But why give him up for absolutely nothing? He hit 48 homers in 2019. Come on. He was hitting 192 for the Royals, like fine, but this is the guy. I mean, I don't know. Don't give him up for absolutely nothing when he hit 48 homers the year before. It's just weird. And then he comes in, does way better, 882 in Atlanta. I don't know why, but he does. Maybe he was going through a slump for the first half of the season. Who knows? And is this guy good? I mean, Kalich is it a ball pitcher? I don't know. I'm not even going to look up his stats because what's the point? 127th pick in the 2019 draft. Struck out nearly 25% of batters in high A as a reliever. I mean, this ages so poorly. It's so funny. There's a Royals website, but for the Royals to get anything out of Soler, who's an impending free agent at the end of the year, is a minor miracle considering he had a 183 triple slash. And yet, World Series MVP. Wrong. Didn't they get Rosario for nothing, too? I think they did. Miles Straw went to Houston. He didn't play in this series, did he? Not really. That's weird. I don't know what happened with that, but let's stay on target here. Eddie Rosario traded to the Braves with cash in exchange for Pablo Sandoval, who was immediately released. And actually, I'm pretty sure he signed with the Braves and gets another ring, his 4th. He's got 4. So he was traded for actually nothing but cash. Eddie Rosario traded for nothing but cash and the corpse of Pablo Sandoval, who ended up winning a World Series with the team that Rosario was traded to. How do we do this? He's not even a bad player, so what's the excuse here? What is Cleveland doing? He's hitting 300. He wasn't hitting for power, but he's hitting 300. I know they're going nowhere. They needed to open up spots for young guys, but you trade him for nothing? What? And he goes on to dominate really hard. Let's look for his... I don't know why his stats aren't loading up here. But he was dominating in the playoffs. We know that. And it's all just very bizarre that these baseball trades worked out this way. And I know it happens a ton, and you can point to the other trades that didn't turn out with World Series winners and MVPs and stuff, but Rosario was hitting like 400 this postseason. And I just don't get it. Why do you trade him for nothing? It's weird. We'll get to that LeBron clip in a little while. So yeah, the trades, I don't know. They robbed people, I guess. 7-0 was the biggest blowout in a World Series clincher since 1985. It feels good to have the cheaters get smacked like that. It feels good. Get crushed, Houston. Get crushed. Also, the first time... They were the first team to be shut out in the final game of the World Series since themselves in 2005 against the White Sox. They got shut out to lose that World Series against the White Sox. Weird that they were in the National League just as soon as 2005. I guess that's not that soon. That was 16 years ago, but they were in the National League. They made the World Series. They get shut out. They get shut out here again. It's awesome. 8th consecutive year that the World Series winning team doesn't get to win the clinching game in their own stadium. It's just sad. You want to see everyone celebrate in front of the home fans, whether you like the team or not. It's just kind of a bummer when they win on the road and everyone's just sad and leaves and no one's cheering. And 8 times in a row for that to happen? What? I know there's nothing to it, but it just stinks. You want to see the celebration. I don't know. Last note I had here, which sparks a little bit of a bigger conversation. And we can go to the regular season standings for this one. Because, especially, the National League, where the Braves live. The Braves were 44 and 45 at the All-Star break. Does the regular season really matter in baseball? It should matter the most of any sport because there's 162 games, but that makes each of the games matter less. All these regular seasons, except for football, because they only play 17 games now, and even that feels like it's wild compared to the 16. It just feels like navigating to get into the dance. I don't know if anyone cares what seed they are. I think that it's more important that you're healthy and solid when you get there. And this tells the story better than any other. They were the last seed in the National League, or the lowest win total at least, to make the playoffs, because they won the division. They were only the second team ever to have a sub 500 record at the All-Star break and win the World Series. 1964 Cardinals did it as well. Let's look up the 1964 Cardinals. Can't spell. Tim McCarver, Dick Groat, Lou Brock. Good team. Really good team. I don't really know Ken Boyer. Maybe I should. What a beast. 119 RBIs. Look at this team. Bill White, 102 RBIs. Who's Ken Boyer? Wow, he won an MVP? Who? I don't know. Okay. Is he in the Hall of Fame? How do I just not know this guy? No. Cardinals best player, not in the Hall of Fame. Cool. Ken Boyer. Anyway, 1964 Cardinals, who was pitching for them? Bob Uecker was the backup catcher. Wow. That's great. That's really great. Bob Uecker. Awesome. Brewers announcer, but more importantly, a star in the Major League movies. Just a bit outside. Bob Gibson pitching. Roger Craig. Yeah, this team's good. This team's good. They had 3 pitchers that dominated 20, 19, and 18 wins. Anyway, yeah, you got to wonder how this team struggled so long early in the year. But the Braves did it too, and these teams that push hard for the regular season, I mean, the Rays had a good regular season. They went nowhere. The Red Sox didn't have a great regular season, turned it on at the end. They went far. Yankees stink, although I love them, but you stink. Blue Jays sleptwalked through a lot of it and didn't make it. The White Sox, I feel like, peaked early and then the wheels fell off, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Kind of proves the point. And you have the Braves. I mean, the Mets spent more time in first place than the Braves did, I think. You just have to make sure you get there at the right time. Do all these teams peak early? Is that not really what it's about anymore? Are we going to see more maintenance, more stretching pitchers out, not starting them as much? Just make sure you get there. Like in the NBA, we see maintenance days all the time. Maybe this starts to happen more in baseball. The Cal Ripkens are dead. We know that. But it's weird. I don't know what to make of it. And I feel like this happens more and more across all sports, and you just have to, I guess this is just the way it goes. You got to adjust, but it's a little bizarre. In any case, the Braves win. The Dodgers open next season as a World Series favorites, I believe. Let's get some early looks at that. Go to The Athletic. Good people. Oh, come on now. I should have known better. Dodgers and Astros early favorites, which is weird. Atlanta was plus 1,000 to win it all at the start of the season.
The 0-2. Left side, Swanson to first. The Braves!
I didn't even mention Freddie Freeman. You got to pay that man, right? He's not under contract. I'll look that up in a second. Dodgers, Astros, Braves third, because they're going to get, I'm telling you, you want to bet a repeat, they're getting 2 horses back. That doesn't seem to happen in baseball anymore, but Yankees, White Sox, Rays pretty low. Padres pretty low. New manager, good team. Blue Jays I like at plus 1,600. And then now you're, Cleveland Guardians. Look at that. We watched the last Indians game. Interesting. Freddie Freeman contract just completed the final season of an 8-year, $135 million contract. How old is Freddie Freeman? 32. Let's look up Freddie Freeman's stats here, because you have to pay him. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's not the same player as this guy that I'm about to name, but when the Ravens won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, it was like, well, you have to pay him. And then you pay him, and it's a disaster. But this is different. I mean, Freeman's been killing for them forever. Won the MVP last year, 4 All-Star games in a row, 6 altogether. He should age pretty gracefully. He's in great shape. But if you have to give him a 7-8 year contract, I mean, maybe you can get away with 5 years at major money. But he hits 300 every year. And he just dominates both in the field and elsewhere. Good for the community. His WAR is insane. So, who are the highest paid? Trout, Betts. He's got to get paid with those guys, right? Lindor. So, DeGrom. Yeah, I mean, why doesn't he get... Every time the next person needs to get paid, it goes up, right? So, why wouldn't he get paid a ton? He's going to have to get... If he gives him a discount, you get him at, let's call it 30. He should get more. Or let's say Bryce Harper contract, right? Let's say 27.5. Or call it, you know what? Call it 25 if he gives him an insane discount. If it's 25, you got to lock him up for probably 7-8 years. It's a $200 million deal. That's not that bad. You can wrap your head around that no matter what it is, whether he's 40 at the end of it or not. If you need to beat Mike Trout, which you might, what if Freddie Freeman turns around and says, I just won the World Series for you. I understand you want me back. I want to be back. But I'm arguably one of the best players in baseball. It's not arguable. He's one of the best players in baseball. I'm an MVP. I want 8 years at $40 million per. Ugh. It's tough. We're approaching Patrick Mahomes level, and that didn't go that well for the Chiefs so far. Not that it's his problem, but that's a whole nother story, which we covered yesterday. Go to the YouTube page, search Mike the Mush on YouTube. That was a good video. We searched out what's wrong with the Chiefs and when it actually started. Check that out. If you got to pay him that much, I mean, the difference between a $200 million and a $300 million contract is astronomical, obviously. I would sooner give him 40 per year for 4 or 5 years, keep him extra happy, and then pitch to him like, you can make another contract after that. Maybe he takes that. Or I'd give him, I'd say, I'll give you 8 years, but it needs to be at a cheaper deal. You got to help us. We got to help each other here. I just wonder what's going to happen. Someone's going to try to give him the bag. And if it's not Atlanta, who knows? Everyone moves around now. That's what athletes are all about. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. But in terms of the NBA, we covered most of baseball. Let's talk NBA for a second. I opened up some things here. This is another guy that might not be playing for his team as long as you would have thought he would have. Ben Simmons not coming back, not mentally ready to play, continuing to seek professional help. There's no timetable on Simmons' return to the floor. I need to see how this turns out, because this can be great or awful. This can be a beacon of hope for people that have mental issues and are struggling and need time to figure that out before anything else, which I support, of course. If he's using this card as a reason to not report and not to play, that's really bad, and it's a step backwards from where we should be. I hope that's not it. I hope he's not struggling also, but this needs to be... We need to be able to point to this as a positive thing somehow in the end. That he got himself right and got help and got back to the court. And maybe they trade him, maybe they don't, doesn't matter. If this turns into just a pissing contest over whether he should report or not, and I could just see it going ugly, and I hope it doesn't. So we'll see where this goes. Tobias Harris tests positive for COVID. I only opened this up because it just continues to rain on the Sixers the same way it rains on the Raiders. Rough. He was vaccinated. Took all proper precautions to remain safe. This happens. What are you going to do? He's got to miss some time. I get it, but unlucky for them. They didn't choose to deal with all this kind of stuff. They chose to deal with Embiid, who's always hurt. And he's hurt again. Although he's playing, but we know how this ends. So yeah. This one is fascinating. Fascinating. But I want to wait before we get to that, because I want to talk about Dame. Because I brought up athletes perhaps leaving the place that you know them to be from. And Dame was the one guy that's trying to say, I want to stay. This is my place. I want to stay. And this is a Yahoo article to give them some credit. Quote unquote, the media is so strong that a lot of top players have become influenced by it. People look at it like, he's just taking the money. He doesn't want to win. The media is so accustomed to rocking the boat and making people move how they want to move That's not going to happen with me. So what he's saying is, I'm staying, period. And there's a longer article. Go check it out on YouTube or it's on the Reddit page. Problem is, he's struggling this year so far. And it's only been 7 games, so I'm not going to, the sky's not falling. But I want to at least talk about it. He's down 10 points from last season. His assists are fine. His rebounds are fine. His free throw shooting is fine, which is a tell to me. He's just not hitting threes at all. And here's the kicker. Here's what makes me scared. And it makes me scared about the next guy we're going to talk about. And if you see it up here, then, spoilers. But it's 2 guys that either do or don't force their way off their team. And both of them are impacted by the same thing. The NBA changing the rules for fouls. Because if you look right here, this is where the difference lies. Last year, he's getting to the line 7.2 times per game. This year, it's 3.9. That's 3 points just right off the bat. So he would be averaging 21.6, and then you factor in the 3-point shooting coming back up. It's better. However, it snowballs a little bit because these guys become a little bit, not that they're easy to guard, but they have to become easier to defend when they can't just throw their head back and draw a foul. And it's been great for the sport. If you haven't been watching, you should be. It's been awesome. It's much more physical. It feels like you can actually defend. It feels like we're not gaming the system. I've loved the rule changes, but it's going to affect some players more than others. I've noticed it with Kemba Walker on the Knicks a little bit, although he's been hitting a lot of shots, and I love you, Kemba. I love you. If you could come on the pod, it would dream come true. But that does concern me with Dame. He's a smaller guy. I'm not saying he's a flopper, or was. But the free throw things it's a stark difference. He hasn't averaged this few free throws since his rookie year when he averaged 19 points per game, which is what he's averaging now. I'm not saying his career's over. He's going to be fine. But if this goes on for another month, how much easier is it for Portland to trade him? Much easier. People still want him. They'll buy in, and they could be starting to see writing on the wall. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It's possible. And I'm not going to do trade machine stuff today, but if we take a look at the standings quickly, we will go through the trade machine eventually, closer to the trade deadline, and try to put together deals that make sense. That'll be a fun one, and probably another Wednesday. But, there could be a Bradley Beal trade. The Knicks could go after him and give up RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin and guys like that, maybe. The Bulls are pretty good the way they are. The Heat, I don't think would be making that kind of move, unless you can trade Oladipo and 1 million picks and maybe give up Kyle Lowry, but I don't see that. But you still have the Wizards. You have the Sixers deal. The Ben Simmons, Dame Lillard thing makes sense to me. I've been saying it for a little while. It still makes sense. You could see that. What if the Raptors want to get weird? They traded for Kawhi and went and won. I don't know. They have Fred VanVleet. They have picks. They have Siakam. Hornets aren't going to do it. Nets, they don't have anything to give. But if Kyrie Irving says, I'll go play in Portland, I don't know. The Hawks won't do it. The Bucks won't do it. The Cavs don't have anything. Celtics is another spot that makes sense. They've been horrible. Absolutely horrible. They look really bad. We talked yesterday about how Marcus Smart is begging for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to make plays and not just shoot every single time they catch the ball. All they have is 2 ISO players and they do nothing else. They're not a good team. Could they flip Brown in a package for Lillard and change it all up? I don't know. Maybe. New GM there. Any of these teams could do anything because they have no one. The Jazz won't do it. The Warriors, who knows? People thought that was an option before. You could trade the guys you just got. Kuminga was a first-round pick. You have Wiseman. You have a couple of guys you could give up. The Lakers, who knows? I don't know. Could you give up every pick you have and give salary cap filler along with Westbrook and then just try to find young assets to give up? The Malik Monks of the world, Horton Tucker? I don't know. Dallas, you could give everything not named Luka Doncic, including picks. Memphis won't do it. Denver, they scuffle a little bit. They can't give up Jokic, but they could give up everything else. Timberwolves could definitely try to put something around Towns or trade Towns. The Suns won't do it. The Kings, who knows? De'Aaron Fox. I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff here. The Spurs, they have all their picks. The Rockets have a ton of young assets. The Thunder have every pick in every draft forever. Pelicans could dangle Zion. I just think he says all the right things, and he's right about the media trying to force it, and maybe that's what I'm doing too, but I don't think I am. I'm just looking at it as, are we scared that this asset is depreciating a little bit? Should we take what we can get now? Or maybe the Blazers say we'd rather trade McCollum and do that, and we believe in Dame, or they do nothing and they just don't compete. I just don't see them beating a lot of these upper echelon teams the way they're constructed, and good for him if he wants to stay, and I hope everything works out for him. I just see it leading closer and closer to a trade. Now, here's the other side of this coin. The guy who wanted out look at this picture, man. James Harden wanted out of Houston so badly that he arguably got a little fat, stopped staying in shape. We could still talk about that. That ended really poorly, but he wanted out, and this is how it happens now with athletes. They're allowed to get out of it however they think is right. And who calls him these things? El Chapo, Jimbo Slice, Honey Bun? I hope someone, I don't know when that was there, but I hope someone added Honey Bun this year just because he looks chubby. Hilarious. He's unbelievable. There's two ties here. One, he's the flip side to Dame. He wanted out so bad he got to the place where he is, and arguable to see if it'll work out or not. The other side of it is he is the number one culprit of these rule changes. The guy who just throws his arms out and then does this with the ball and gets a foul call. He gets to the line more than anyone in the world. 2019-2020, he goes to the line 12 times per game. This year, 5.3. And he's only scoring 18.6 points per game. And can it really be a total mystery why? I don't know why this is yellow. Can it? His assists are down? I don't know. It's only been 7 games. I'm not crying wolf here. But he doesn't look like he's as comfortable in ISO. He used to be the best ISO player in the NBA. He would take you. He would either draw the foul, or you have to lay off him so much because you know he's going to draw the foul that he's going to finish at the rim. He's more athletic than he seems. And if you start going downhill, he has the perfect step back to hit the three. His threes are still falling. He's not getting to the line, and it's changing his whole offense in the way you approach defending him. And I think this could be a problem. Go back to the standings for a second. The Nets have struggled, I think, a little more than you expected. They're 4-3. And as it is, they don't have Kyrie. Durant is amazing. Harden is still an all-star, even at this version of him. 20 player efficiency rating, which isn't as good as it should be. 15 is average. And then what? Blake Griffin looked great last year in limited minutes. He looks kind of washed. His knees might be shot. He's got a 5 player efficiency rating. He hasn't done anything. Again, it's 6-7 games. I mean, who knows? But when LaMarcus Aldridge might be your third best player, who retired last season and now is back, Joe Harris, all he does is stand in the corner and shoot threes. Cool. He's an average player. Joe Harris, another 5 player efficiency rating. I mean, all these guys are just guys. Patty Mills is a bench player. Bruce Brown is a bench player. Nick Claxton's a bench player. Blake Griffin's a bench player. Paul Millsap's a bench player. How many bench power forwards do you need? LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap all play the same position. So you need James Harden, especially if Kyrie isn't there, to be getting to the line at least 10 times a game because you need free points. You need him and Durant to be so dominant that the other guys can literally just stand around. And that hasn't happened. And if he's not getting to the line and you're not getting those free points and you're not forcing the defense to adjust to the way he plays, what happens? Well, it turns into a team where Kevin Durant is a major threat that you need to double. And then maybe you just live with a couple more guys guarding Harden one-on-one that you have confidence in to not foul because they're not calling as many things anymore. So the sky isn't falling, but we do need to adjust to a slightly new landscape. The NBA might just be changing a little bit with these free throw attempts. It's going to affect some players more than others. It's going to impact the hierarchy of what the NBA looks like. And James Harden and Dame Lillard, so far, it's only been 7 games, are 2 people who you need to at least be a little bit concerned about because their free throws are way down. Everyone's free throws are going to be down a little bit, but guys that really relied on it, I don't know. Does it affect their trade value? Does it affect how their teams are going to play? Does it affect how defenses are going to square in on them? All those answers to me are yes. And maybe we don't know enough about the rules because it's only been 7 games, and maybe these stats don't mean too much because it's only been 7 games. But in either direction, you really have to wonder what we know about this league with these new rules. That's it. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying Dame and James Harden are dead. They're going to be fine. They're going to make all-star teams. Their teams could be in the playoffs, but it could lead to changes that we didn't see happening on a lot of different fronts. Speaking of changes, talk about the Lakers a little bit. Giannis is currently shooting a better three-point percentage than Anthony Davis, 31.6 to 15, while shooting over 2 threes per game more. Giannis is also shooting better from the free throw line on 2 more attempts per game. This is the only thing they had against Giannis. Anyone had. He's killing everyone. The only thing you had was that he couldn't shoot the ball, and now he's doing that better than a guy that we thought shot the ball well. So that brings about 2 questions. Are the Bucks even beatable when Giannis is like this? We'll talk about that another day. We got all season for that. Giannis could win another MVP. He's the best player in the league. It's not even close. I mean, Durant is definitely close. But you take Giannis every single time. He's younger, and frankly, he's just played better, and he's such a freight train that you can't stop him. Same with Durant, but still. The other side of the coin is people talk about the Lakers getting worse because of this reason and that reason, trading players, different players. Russ is here. LeBron's getting older. How about Anthony Davis just hasn't been that good? You needed him to be an MVP caliber player. He hasn't been. And it's to the point where when they won in the bubble, he was hitting everything. Everything. Anthony Davis stats. I mean, I don't know these off the top of my head, but I imagine they were really good. Game logs, playoffs. Let's just look at his regular playoff stats. It should be here. Yeah. This was last year. He didn't shoot well, but we knew that. Let's talk about the 2020 run. 39% from 3, 40% from 3, 33% from 3, 42% from 3. He's hitting 18 threes in this series, 18 threes in this series, 19 threes in the finals. He's getting to the line. He's shooting 93.8% from the free throw line. But he didn't always do all this. Was this playoff run more of an anomaly than we gave it credit for at the time? We thought it was an ascending to a new level. If he can shoot like this and he can't stop him inside and he's the most versatile defender in the league, not named Giannis. What do we do with this guy? And now, same thing we did yesterday with the Chiefs. We look back and we're like, was that what we thought it was? Because it looks pretty bad this year. It doesn't look good. 15% from 3. He's only shot it 20 times. He's obviously not feeling that confident. His free throws are down. I don't know, but it's interesting. Last thing, I want to talk about the Lakers. This was a weird thing in the Lakers game against the Rockets last night. Lakers had 2 points taken off the board when Bazemore was apparently not supposed to take 2 free throws due to not yet being in the bonus. The refs screwed up. They gave him bonus free throws when they weren't supposed to be in the bonus. He was awarded the free throws. He shot the free throws. A bunch of possessions went by. Then they took the points away. How far does this go? And this game came down to a last-second buzzer beater? Yeah. Rockets had a chance to win this. If the Rockets win this game and hit a buzzer beater hit a 3 at the buzzer to win by 1, and the Lakers had 2 points taken off the board, the league is uproaring. It didn't end up mattering, but what the hell? You can't do this. You got to pick a lane. This is why I hate replay. It comes with it's fixing an error, but it's screwing up everything. If you screw up, sorry, you screwed up. Move it along. I can't get on board with this. Taking points off the board later, I don't like it. I don't even like when they review whether his foot was on the line later. Either stop the game and review it or don't. But I don't like breaking momentum either, so just go with the call you have. Ban replay. I know it's a hot take, but ban it. Get it out of here. It just leads to more BS like this. And it takes up so much time and it breaks momentum. I get it, but it's annoying. Anyway, I want to close with a cool highlight. Let's move this over so everyone can see it well. I'll make it bigger. I'll put it like this. LeBron scores 10 straight in the fourth quarter for the Lakers in a game where they were up 1. Rockets miss. Drummond outlet. Westbrook to Bron. Boom. Looks fresh. Looked great last night. Great. It made you realize what the Lakers can be. Dwight wasn't even playing. Here's a turnover.
Referees confer. Laker ball. They're down by 1.
I don't understand.
Down 1.
Being on the floor this much with Christian Wood sitting on the sideline as Lakers.
Boom. Christian Wood did sit for a long time, but Sengun is good. These announcers are just good.
Sengun's been on the floor 25 minutes.
Sengun is a good player.
Lakers down by only 1.
Keep your eye on him. LeBron right to the rim. See, this is the thing. You forget what LeBron can do. When the Lakers feel like turning it on when the playoffs roll around, they're going to make the playoffs. You still got to deal with this guy. I don't care how old he is. You got to deal with him. They have their issues, don't get me wrong. Like, this isn't a perfect team, and it might not look the way it looks now at the end of the year. They'll make moves. They always do. They'll get buyout people. They'll make a trade. They'll do something. But when LeBron is playing like this, I mean, Malik Monk has looked terrible. I don't know what that was about. You could have had Buddy Hield instead of Malik Monk.
And that was his first try tonight.
And that was well off
but LeBron just really crushed. And you really like to see it.
Already down to 4 on the shot clock.
Porter Jr., I don't know how to feel about, but he can really stroke it. And they're competing with the Lakers in this game, which is alarming. The Rockets are supposed to be the worst team in the league. And all the Lakers are missing right now is, I mean, look at LeBron go right to the rack. He knows he's playing I'm your daddy basketball. This is what LeBron does at his best. We know this. This is what he does, and if he's doing it now, he must realize a couple things. One, the Lakers need him to do it to win these games, even against bad people, which is alarming. He knows he needs to set the tone. He knows he needs to change this all around, and he knows they need wins. So he gets it back. He goes right in, and he's feeling it. And you just can't do anything. They get a stop. He takes it up. He ain't passing. Look at this guy. Right to the rack. Easy money. I just think LeBron can do this when he wants to do this. If he stays healthy and the team stays healthy, they'll figure out the surrounding pieces. You don't want to play them still because just don't forget what he can do right there. He just scored 10 points in a row for the team without any issue. And I know it's the Rockets, but I'm just saying, the guy's awesome, and I just really wanted to do a LeBron fluff-up segment because I love LeBron. I really love LeBron. That's a wrap. That's a Wednesday. Thursday night football will be the New York Football Jets and Mike White. You better believe we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Friday, I have a wedding to go to. I am going to stream, but it's going to be earlier. I think I'm going to do it around noon. If you're interested, join on Twitch, twitch.tv/MikeTheMush. Follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live. Or join the Discord. If you go to the Twitch page and go to the About page, there's an invite to the Discord there. We want to do calls eventually. I'll pull people into the voice chat. That should be fun. But in there, we'll notify you also when I go live. After we're live every day, the VODs will go up on YouTube. Search Mike the Mush on YouTube as well. I appreciate your subscribing there. That's pretty much it. Mike White football. I'm excited. 10.5-point underdogs. Vegas doesn't understand. Vegas doesn't understand, but I don't want to blow tomorrow's stream. We'll talk about that. Maybe we'll do a little more NBA based on what happened today. If you want a quick pick for NBA tonight, I do like a couple teams. Let's see what I can mush. I have it here somewhere. I'll pull it up for you right at the end. For the people that stayed all the way to the end, you deserve it. You deserve something good. I like the Magic plus 12 against the Celtics. I like the Kings at home. And I like the Warriors at home. Let's see what I mush. I don't know. Just a quick one for the people that hung around. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.